to the courts and the gridiron to the tracks.
Electrifying sports talk from start to finish.
You're going wire to wire
with Diesel and Cole Bryson
on the Fan Upstate.
Well, you know, Diesel and I could be pretty good meteorologists. What in the world am I talking about? Yesterday, we were both dead wrong when it came to the forecast of what would happen to the Michigan Wolverines. So since we were dead wrong, we're both going to quit radio and apply to be meteorologists. We're going on TV, Diesel. We've made it big. We can predict wrong.
Well, you know, if we want another profession where we don't have to be successful all that much, we can go be a hitter in Major League Baseball. You know, you hit 1 out of 4, and you're one of the greats in the game.
Welcome into Wire to Wire. He is Diesel. I'm Cole Bryson. So good to be with you on this Friday. Hopefully your weekend is starting soon. I am live at Gaffney High School for the McDonald's Kickoff Classic. 10 total teams in action tonight. 10. All at one place. A lot of McDonald's Kickoff Classics happening around the area. One at Chapman High School as well. Diesel's holding it down back in the Ingalls Market Studios. A big show coming your way today. We're going to end a prediction week. We're predicting all 4 Power 4 conferences in the next segment, who the winner will be. We will talk high school football in the 4 o'clock hour. Brock Hamrick of the Cherokee Chronicle will sit down with us. At 5 o'clock, Diesel, we will predict the 12-team playoff in college football. Some audio for you coming up at 5:20 as well. But we start with the big news of the day. Diesel, you asked me the question on the show yesterday if I thought Michigan would have the hammer dropped on them. And I'll be honest with you, it was a little more serious than I thought. In case you missed it, Michigan gets a major fine, and they add to more, M-O-O-R-E, not M-O-R-E, ban for sign stealing. Breaking news today. Diesel, what was your instant reaction when you saw the news come down?
Well, Michigan's got the money. They'll pay the fine. The additional game of suspension will probably come against the Central Michigan Chippewas or the Western Michigan Broncos or whoever it may be. So it's, the extra game suspension doesn't bug me. It doesn't seem like it's going to be all that punitive because, again, they're not going to suspend Sharon Moore for the Ohio State game. They're not going to suspend him for the Penn State game. We already saw what happened this year. Michigan suspended him selectively, the games that they wanted to suspend him for, so that he wouldn't miss some important games to him personally. So look, Michigan is they're going to take that slap on the wrist. $20 million sounds like a lot of money, but to a program like that, they're going to have some big donor. Maybe it's going to be Portnoy, who's just going to say, okay, I'll cut you a check for $20 million. You guys aren't even going to feel this.
Yeah, that's a good point. I didn't think about that. Maybe Dave will do that. Tolos, if you have not done so before, check us out, as 41 Tolos have done already on the stream, where you can watch the show, Twitter, Facebook, and YouTube. JB's already in the comments section on the YouTube stream. You can be as well. Diesel, I like your Dave Portnoy idea, but I thought the best tweet of the day, maybe the tweet of the year, came from Brett McMurphy. I don't know if you saw this yet, but Diesel, after this news dropped, Brett McMurphy tweeted out, and you know, Brett has 317 or so thousand followers on X. Brett tweeted out, what football program wouldn't pay $20 million for a national championship? So is that the conversation that we're having today, as we'll dive into what exactly is going to happen to Michigan in a second, Diesel? But is that where we're going, that maybe a national championship's worth $20 million?
I mean, hey, look, you can try to slap somebody on the wrist and take away wins after the fact, but everybody knows you won the games. You know, you can expunge it from the record books, which it hurts maybe the university. It hurts their feelings a little bit, but outside of that, it really doesn't do much. I don't understand why the NCAA has felt like this is some giant, earth-shattering punishment. Hey, that thing that happened, happened, that millions of fans across the sport know happened. Yeah, that didn't happen, right? The only person who would ever be fooled by that is somebody who doesn't know the sport at all, somebody who doesn't know ball. Maybe Taylor Swift, she decides, you know what, maybe I'm going to go back and start learning college football too. Where am I going to start? I'm going to start looking at the record books of who won a national championship in 2023. Oh, man, nobody won a title in 23. What happened?
It's funny you bring that up. JB on the YouTube stream says, why did they not have to vacate the national title? So I assumed, Diesel, that would be brought up today in this very first segment. If you just tuned in, we're talking about the news that was brought down on Michigan, and we'll get to the exact details in a little bit. But, Diesel, I assumed that would be brought up really quickly. And I want to know from the Tolos out there at 844-326-3663. That's 844-FANFONE. Hub City Spartanburgers text line is open. Phone lines are open as well. Should Michigan had to vacate the national title? Yes or no? We want to hear from you. Diesel and I do. Again, Diesel's live in the Ingles Market Studios. I'm live at Gaffney High School, ahead of the McDonald's Kickoff Classic that will start here in about 2 hours on a hot Friday here in the upstate. But I want to get into that, Diesel, before we get to the details of what exactly is happening. In your mind, Michigan sign stealing, essentially, they are cheating in order to win football games, correct? If that's the case, do you believe the national title in the year that they were cheating should be vacated?
Yeah. How can you say that they're guilty of something and then say, yeah, we're going to take away this, and this, but we're not going to take away the national championship?
That's what I'm saying. So I think in my head, I tried to play both sides before we came on the radio today and figure out what side I was going to play and what opinion I really had, Diesel, because I see both sides, but I think I land on I'm with you. If I win an award for submitting somebody's work that wasn't mine, or you and I, Diesel, are in school, and you give me the answers to the test and I never study and I submit the test, I pass the test, but I get caught, guess what? I'm not passing the test. It's very simple. So, look, I think there's a strong argument to be made that Michigan should have to vacate this thing. JB says on the YouTube stream, yes, they should vacate the title. It'll have the little symbol beside it anyways. If Reggie Bush was caught doing what he did back in the day, Diesel, and his Heisman Trophy was vacated for a time being, right? We talked about that several months ago. I don't see where you can look at this situation and think, oh, okay, they did cheat, but the national championship, like, it was still fair and square. Was it fair and square? I just don't know that there's any way to know.
Yeah, it feels like a half measure, a way to just put this thing to bed, sort of a compromise. Like, look, guys, we could come down a lot harder on you on this, but we're not going to. We're not going to take away your national championship. Please don't sue us. We're not going to make you vacate so that you wouldn't have cause to sue us in the future to get this thing back, because we know that's what you're going to do. That's what everybody does when they get caught cheating. They let enough time go by and then they sue to get their trophy back. So I think this is sort of a compromise. Hey, pay us a fine, vacate a couple of nothing wins, slap the coach on the wrist. We're not going to take your title, by the way.
Not going to take your title. That's right.
We can all move on from this and be done with it.
So if you are listening to the show or watching the show today, number one, we appreciate you doing so. But number two, you're maybe asking, okay, I just got off work and I hadn't heard what happened. Well, Diesel, the NCAA Division I Committee on Infractions ruled on the University of Michigan's advanced scouting case Friday, with the school facing a series of fines that could eclipse $30 million. The Wolverines avoided punitive penalties such as postseason ban or the vacating of victories, which was just talked about, including the 2023 national championship season. The NCAA also imposed an additional game suspension for Coach Sharon Moore, which will be served for the first game of the 2026 season, not this year, because remember, he's already serving a 2-game this year. Now he's serving a 1-game next year. So ESPN reported in May that the university proposed to self-impose. He also received a 2-year show cause penalty. So, Diesel, the first aspect, let's dive into Sharon Moore, the head coach of Michigan. He just took over a few years ago. We know that Michigan's a place where they expect to win national championships, right? In your mind, is this a Is this a black eye on Sharon Moore because he's suspended this year and next year, a total of 3 games? Or are you on the side of, no, not really, because it wasn't under him when it happened? Where do you stand on that?
Well, he was on staff at the time, right?
He was on staff, yes.
When it happened. So, I mean, yeah, it's going to follow him around. And I guess he's got Jim Harbaugh to thank for that. Thanks, Coach. You leave me with a pretty good roster, and you leave me with something that's going to follow me around my entire career. People are going to be calling me a cheater forever now, right? I mean, Ohio State fans certainly are. They're going to be the loudest amongst the bunch. Yeah, I don't know, man. This doesn't feel like it's really meant to hurt him. It's just meant to embarrass him a little, and we can all move on.
I wonder what would be worse, though, Diesel. Would you, if you're a Michigan fan, and I know we have a lot of Ohio State fans in the audience in the upstate of South Carolina, but if you're a Michigan fan and you had to, if the NCAA came to you and said, look, you're either going to have wins vacated from that season, including your national championship, or you're going to be banned from the postseason, 99% of fans would take the future ban of the postseason, right? You want to preserve that national championship. Luckily, they don't have to choose. They got both. I think once again, Diesel, we have seen in this case that the NCAA is without a backbone. They have no discretion toward what actually should happen in the sport. And again, maybe I'm wrong on this, but I believe, Diesel, this all leads back to there are so many things happening in the sport of college football that we're asking the NCAA to kind of oversee so much they can't really focus on what needs to be done. I just simply don't know how you can impose this fine, nearly $30 million potentially, but not have any repercussions when it comes to the postseason or your national championship, because we joked about it, but what Brett McMurphy said, Diesel, with the most schools would pay $20 million. You and I don't have the numbers in front of us, but is that funny or is that real? Is that true? Would schools out there really pay $20 million for a national title?
Yeah, I mean, you got to consider, what is it actually worth in terms of new recruiting, in terms of donations to your university, in terms of advertising reach, right? I mean, you can say winning the national title. They say being on College Game Day, hosting College Game Day, is worth millions upon millions of dollars worth of exposure and advertising. I think it's absolutely worth it, especially when you're a program like Michigan, to get back up on top of that mountaintop and to have your fan base re-energized. We know that's a gigantic fan base. It's a gigantic school. They'll all start saying, hey, I'm excited we won titles. Let's put some money back into the program again. It's absolutely worth it.
You would think so, right? You would think so. Let us know what you think, Tolos. We're going to get to the Hub City Spartan Burgers text line in just a second. You're already getting credit, Diesel, for something that you taught a Tolo on the Hub City Spartan Burgers text line. So we'll get to that in a second. On X, where you can follow us at the Cole Bryson and at Diesel on Radio, Carolina Spartan tweets us and says, Moore was an integral part of this, was suspended for a game last year, this year for 2, and 26-27 for 1. It doesn't reflect on him. He was a key player. Also, being able to choose games you suspend your coach for to make sure he's available for big games is laughing emoji. In terms of recruiting, it doesn't matter. They can just buy players. Anyone can. Recruiting visits don't matter because of the digital age and collectives. Michigan has unlimited money. This comes from Carolina Spartan on X. Interesting. Look, I do agree that there are, I guess, I don't know, loopholes is the right word, but yeah, like being able to choose which games you're like, come on. What are we doing here?
Look, at the end of the day, though, the college game, I know Ohio State fans don't want this to go away, but at some point, we got to put this thing to bed in an official capacity, right? Fans will never let it go. And that's fine. That's your prerogative, and you should continue to needle your rival over what they've done, over their improprieties. I'm sure Ohio State's never done anything wrong, by the way. But the NCAA wants to put this thing to bed. I think also because they kind of want to stay on the good graces of some of the most powerful programs and conferences, right? They just want to, all right, we'll settle, we'll get this thing over with, and we can all move on. Please stay with us 5 years from now, 10 years from now. Don't break away and go do your own thing where we can't make money off of you anymore.
Yeah, and I also think it was a fair question. I think you were kind of joking about it, but I don't think it's really a joke. I think it's a fair question as to when Dave Portnoy will get involved because, I mean, that dude's got more money than, any. I mean, isn't he probably the biggest Michigan supporter or one of them in terms of
how much money did he put in just to go get Bryce Underwood? It wasn't like $2 million.
It was a lot of money, millions of dollars to go get Bryce Underwood. So you know what? Like, how long until that happens? Did you see where you were receiving credit already on this Friday? Air high five to you, by the way, Diesel, on the Hub City Spartan Burgers text line.
Hey, we were at the Ingalls in Easley.
Yeah.
I don't remember if it was the Powdersville location or if it was the one deeper in Easley on the south side of town. But Cornchip came by. Cornchip lives down in Easley. And he came by and he scored one of those Ingalls gift cards that we have to give away every single Wednesday that we're on location. And by the way, next Wednesday, you and I are back out on location. We'll be at the Ingalls at 10903 Anderson Road in Piedmont.
Might have been that
Cornchip, come on by and see us again. But I gave him a gift card for Ingalls, and I said, hey, man, go right over there to the floral department. Find a cheap bouquet of flowers, like $3-4, and take it home to the wife. She's going to love it. And I said, dude, this is the secret. This is the secret to keeping the wife happy. It's very cheap. You don't have to bring home diamonds. Just surprise her with a random $4 bouquet of flowers. Make sure you take the price tag off.
Yeah.
Of it, by the way, she doesn't need to know that it's a $4 bouquet of flowers. Cornchip, you can't get those for a special occasion. Okay. You can't do the $4 bouquet on her birthday. You got to
spend $5 on her birthday.
Anniversaries. That's just the random Tuesday you stop by the store and you said, I got $4 extra. Let me make the wife smile. That's all it takes. And he texted in and said that he made sure that while he was at Ingalls, he got her some nice flowers.
Look at Diesel using Ingalls to make Tolos happier and their at-home lives happier as well. You should get a raise for that. Also on the Hub City Spartan Burgers text line, Cornchip said probably would have gone to Easley's Jamboree tonight since it's our friend's kid's senior season, but it's Mizra's Cornchip's birthday today. Texter from the 431 gets in at 844-326-3663 and says, do you think they tried to make so memorable because it's the last ruling that the committee will be involved with? We'll react to that in a second. Buckeye Mike says should have had scholarships taken away. And then texter from the 431 says, should Stallions have been punished more specifically? I don't know what you can do to Stallions now, Diesel. That's a fair point, but what are you going to do to him? I mean, take off one of his kneecaps or something? I mean, I don't know exactly what the punishment for Stallions could be at this point. So I think you're kind of stuck in a tough situation there.
And he's no longer with the Michigan program.
Right.
Last I heard, he was like coaching in high school or something. How much farther can you beat this guy down? Right. I mean, you got your pound of flesh already. He's been fired. Nobody will ever touch him again in college football, I don't think. So
you're right, by the way. He is coaching high school football, Diesel.
Yeah, you got your pound of flesh. What more do you want?
So, and Buckeye Mike, not surprised at all that you said they should have had scholarships taken away. Color us shocked on that one. I guess to close the segment, Diesel, this is being put to bed. I say that as in the form of a question, because I'm saying it, but I'm also asking it. Is this being put to bed? I do think so. You can hear the confidence in my voice. I think it's put to bed.
I still think, 15 years from now, Michigan will quietly sue the NCAA or whoever to get these wins reinstated. So at least that black eye, again, you take that punishment, you take the little slap on the wrist. But quietly, years down the road, you work to get those things reinstated, especially once you've got a new administration in. Sharon Moore will be long gone from Clemson or from Michigan by that point. You know, whether he gets fired, whether he moves on to somewhere else or just ages out and retires. When that happens, they will push to get those wins reinstated like it never even happened.
It's interesting. Michigan may look, while it was illegal, Diesel, while it was cheating, Michigan, though, may have created the most insane college football story. Maybe one of the top 5, right? Maybe that's a segment for one day. I mean, that's an all-timer, what Connor Stallions did.
It really was. When we come back, Cole, let's do this. Let's do our final chunk of predictions.
Let's
for
go.
the 2025 season. What are we predicting? Well, we'll predict the winners of all 4 of the power conferences. That's coming up next. Who do you think is going to win the Big Ten, SEC, ACC, and Big 12? You can text into the show or jump in on the comment section on the stream on Facebook, Twitter, and on YouTube. Just search for The Fan Upstate. That
to Wire with Diesel and Cole Bryson on the Fan Upstate.
Oh, Cole, I have a good sense that somebody is pressing record right now so that by the end of the season, come December, they're going to be able to call in and say, ha, see, told you so, you idiots. You picked this one over there. Look how wrong you were, you big dummies.
No, nobody would do that to us,
Nobody
would they?
do that?
Yeah, I can name a few.
We have a Tolo that likes to do that to us almost every single day.
I can name a few.
It's gonna happen. Tolos, who's gonna win each of the Power Four conferences? Big Ten, SEC, ACC, and Big 12. Text in 844-326-3663, the Hub City Spartanburgers text line, or get in on the stream, Facebook, Twitter, or YouTube. Just search for the Fan Upstate. And if you haven't logged in on the stream before, whichever app you choose or whichever platform you choose to watch us on, make sure you hit the subscribe button, the follow button, the like button, whatever it is on that particular platform. That way you can be here more often and Tolo every day, as you should. You should know the rules. Turn it on, leave it on every day. But Cole, I'm going to go through conference by conference, a couple teams that I think are contenders to win the conference championship game.
Okay.
What their trip ups might be, what kind of what the highlights of their resume are, and who I think has probably the best chance to come out of the maelstrom in each conference as the winner. You ready?
I am locked and loaded, ready to go, by the way.
Okay, well, winners go first. Make it, take it, as they say. Let's start, Cole, with the Big Ten Conference. How many teams are even in the Big Ten? Do you know?
How many teams are in the Big Ten without looking? Let me guess, Diesel, 14. I just throwing that out there. Big Ten,
I
right?
think there are the Big Ten Conference.
No,
Again,
there's
none of these
more
make
than
any sense
no.
anymore.
There's more.
18.
Oh, okay. I was going to say 16.
There's 18
okay,
teams.
I got you. That's a.
And out of those 18, I see 3 teams that legitimately have a real chance to go win this conference.
Diesel, is there? I mean, when you have 18 teams, like, has Wisconsin ever played Illinois in the history of football before? Like, how do you play? I say that joking, but goodness gracious, that's a lot of teams.
You know, back when this conference made sense and they were relatively tight geographically, and Penn State was out on an island by itself in the East, and the conference basically definitely stopped before you hit the Rockies, but it stopped in the Midwest when the geography was nice and flat and level.
Sure.
There was nothing but farmlands and cornfields. I'm sure they did play each other quite a bit, but who knows how long it's been now.
Yeah, I'm ready, man. Big Ten is interesting. I do think I'm excited to hear who your contenders are, but I will say real quick, I think this is a very, very, very top-heavy conference.
Yeah, it is. I think there's a few teams that are kind of coming up a little bit. They got good coaches. They are clearly winning a lot of football games with questionable strengths of schedule. Indiana, Illinois, looking at you two. I love Kurt Cignetti at Indiana. He's kind of that punchable kind of guy that, is kind of a jerk. He thinks he's smarter than everyone else. He's smug, but he's also picking at some of the big boys, right? He's picking at Ohio State. He's picking at Michigan. He's a fly in their ointment, and I love that about him. And I also, obviously I'm a big fan of Brett Bielema at the University of Illinois, and I think he's going to do great things at that program. I hope that he sticks around long enough to turn them into some kind of a consistent winner year over year for a decade or more. But who knows, man? He's got that name, and if he wins 10 games again at Illinois this year, he could be hired away by another program with more money.
I'm with you on Cignetti. I mean, what he's done, what he did last year was impressive, Diesel. Indiana, they were 3-24 in Big Ten play from 2021 to 2023. And what Kurt Cignetti did in the first year, he hit the portal really, really hard. They did have a little bit easier of a schedule as well, so that definitely helped. But you can't discount that success, man. So I'm with you. I think you said they were one of your contenders?
No, they're not
okay.
one of my contenders.
Gotcha.
But you said they were a top-heavy league, and I was refuting that,
I'm with
saying
you.
that they've got again, we all know that Indiana didn't play a tough schedule last year. They played a really, really easy schedule. They won a lot of games. I mean, look, they still had to go out and win those games.
Sure.
So credit for that, even though they weren't playing the best of the best. They missed basically everybody over the course of that season, the big tough teams in the Big Ten. But I do think there is a pretty solid second tier. It's still top heavy when you talk about things on a national stage. But even if one of your quote unquote lesser programs is making the college football playoff, as much as some fans may hate it, I think they deserve credit.
Oh, I'm with you on that. I do. We'll see what happens in 2025 for Cignetti, but I do give Indiana credit.
So my projected order of finish for the contenders, and could be one team if you want it to be one team, could be 5 teams if you want it to be 5 teams. I've got 1, 2, 3. Ohio State, Penn State, Oregon. I think Ohio State, Penn State, Oregon will finish 1, 2, 3 in the Big Ten.
I don't hate it. I will tell you this. I was this morning having a conversation about the Big Ten with a friend of mine, Diesel, who is an assistant coach at the college football level, in college football, an assistant at an in-state program. And he told me that, again, this was his opinion, and I'm not going to name his name or anything, but he did say that he said, look, Cole, I know there's been a lot of people who have been critical of James Franklin, and rightfully so, because he hasn't won the big one. He hadn't been good in big games, but a friend of mine who's a college football coach told me this year, he said, look, he said, Penn State's for real. He said, Penn State's legit. So with him saying that, I almost predicted them to win the conference, but is it wrong for me, Diesel, a Nittany Lions team who's 0-7 against Ohio State and Michigan in the last 3 years? Is it wrong for me to be in the camp of wait and see? I just don't. One of those like Santa Claus, right? You can't believe until you see. I'm not going to believe until I see it with Penn State. Maybe I'm proven wrong, but I can't have them win the conference quite yet.
Wait, is Cole taking the official stance on Wire to Wire that Santa Claus isn't real?
No. I would not say that.
You're not doing that?
He is
You're not
real.
saying that out loud?
He is 100% real. Yes. I would never do that. So again, give me, Diesel, real quick, your top 3 are Penn State, Ohio State, and who?
1, 2, 3 is Ohio State, Penn State, Oregon.
Okay.
And I say that because I think Drew Aller, I think the world of Drew Aller. I know you don't. I think he's just good enough to get to game manage. He's not a superstar. I'm not trying to say that he's some kind of a superstar.
Yeah.
But he is good enough at managing the game.
That's fair.
Even with weak completion percentages and not showing up in the biggest games, in the playoff last year. We went through this last week.
Yeah.
He was in the high 50s with his completion percentage in that playoff run, but they still won 2 out of those 3 games, by the way.
Sure.
I think he's a phenomenal game manager, and I know that they are stacked in talent this year. They've got one of the easiest schedules among all the teams that we're going to talk about today, number 37 strength of schedule overall. And they get Ohio State late in the season. And that's one of those things. It's one of those reasons why I have Ohio State beating them, because they don't have to play them until November 1st. So Julian Sayan's going to get 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 games before they face Penn State. They will have played 2 top 15 teams in the preseason before then, on the road at Illinois and home hosting Texas at the beginning of the season. There's going to be a lot of time for him to grow up and get ready for that Penn State game.
I'm with you on that. I look, Diesel, going back to your point real quick before we move on to the next team about game manager. So let's throw this out there. Maybe that's all it takes. Meaning he just needs to be a good game manager, right? With the schedule, he's got the best running back room behind him in the country. So maybe this is the year that Cole Bryson is proven to be an idiot. I mean, a lot of people would say, oh, he already is, and that's fine, but maybe this is the year. So, by the way, we had Daily Wires in the next segment because we're diving so deep in this. We'll push that back to later in the show, but we'll get to the Daily Wires later on, Diesel. We still have several other conferences to get to, but I'm with you.
Yeah.
You and I both agree Ohio State wins the Big Ten. Real quick before we move on, what is your confidence level, your confidence meter in that pick right now.
Oh.
If you had to say like a grading scale of 100 is the maximum, are you 90% confident?
No, I'm not.
Less?
I'm more in the range of like 70% confident
Yeah.
that Ohio State wins this conference. And the difference may be an inexperienced quarterback.
Sure.
We just don't know what Julian Sayin is going to be. His upside potential is massive. Obviously, he was recruited by the best of the best, and all signs point to him being really good, and he's got an incredible cast of characters around him.
I think I'm with you. I think I would go 65%, 75%. I'm not I'm not anywhere close to 100, but I believe Ohio State's going to get it done in 2025. Maybe I'm dead wrong. Maybe Penn State wins it all. Maybe my criticisms of them being number 2 in the AP poll, maybe I'm dead wrong, and there is something in the back of my head kind of just knocking, saying, Cole, you might be wrong. We'll see.
Here's how I see this happening. Penn State beats Oregon September 27th because it's early in the season and Oregon breaking in a new quarterback.
Sure.
And then Ohio State beats Penn State to break their hearts again on November 1st. Because by that point, again, Ohio State's Julian Sayin will have had some time to break things in a little bit, and I think he'll be all right by that point in the season. Let's move on to the SEC, Cole. I've got 4 contenders for the SEC, 4 contenders, and I rank them as such. Tell me where I'm wrong. I've got LSU 1, Texas 2, Alabama 3, and Georgia 4.
Okay.
Again, all of them contenders to win this thing. The SEC, it's a meat grinder, man. You just never quite know.
So that's your order of finish, projected order of finish there?
That's my projected order of finish.
And that's one more time. That's who at 1?
LSU, Texas, Alabama, Georgia.
Georgia at 1.
Georgia's 4.
Oh, I'm sorry. You went from 1 to 4. Okay, gotcha.
1 to 4, yeah.
Okay, so you have Georgia at 4 and LSU winning the conference?
I do, because LSU only plays one of those other 3. They
Okay.
only play Alabama. They miss Texas and Georgia, so they have an easier route than some of these other teams that I list as contenders.
You know what? My confidence meter for this drops even more so than it was in the Big Ten, Diesel. It drops to like 15%, I think.
Yeah.
So here's where I am with the SEC. I don't disagree with you. I just am picking Texas. I think they're due under Sark. They won their first Big 12 title since 2009. We know what happened, in the college football playoff last year with Texas. I think they're due, and I think Arch Manning Diesel has so much talent around them that, kind of going back to Drew Aller, Arch Manning isn't going to have to be Heisman Trophy Arch Manning in my mind. At least I don't think so. I think Arch Manning's going to have just as much talent around them than Clemson or any other team out there. And for that, with that being the case, I do think Texas wins the conference. I'm with you. I hear you on LSU's schedule. But again, when I compare the two, Diesel, I could see a few more trip ups on LSU's schedule than I could Texas' schedule. So it's close, but I'm going with the Longhorns to win the SEC.
Well, the good things for Texas is Texas, coming off a bye, plays on the road at Georgia, and they miss Alabama and LSU. So they're gonna play a really tough game. Again, LSU plays Alabama in Baton Rouge. Texas goes on the road to Georgia. Texas is coming off of a bye, right? So they get an extra week to prepare for that gauntlet. So you may be right. You may be right, but it's just going on the road, playing your toughest games. Maybe holds a little extra mystique for Arch, and it makes it tough. Good thing for Arch is that it happens late in the season, November 15th.
And Diesel, look, ultimately in the SEC, and we'll get to the next two teams in the next segment, but ultimately, man, this is the conference of margins, right? Like, that's the way I look at it. Your margin for error is so thin in this conference, it literally comes down to not each game, but each play in the conference. And, like, these conference games are vital, and the margin for error is so thin. I mean, I like LSU a lot. I told you yesterday that I thought they were a team that can win the national championship. I didn't predict them to, but I just think that Texas has more talent on both sides of the football, and Arch Manning's going to have any opportunity on any given Saturday to throw it to a 5-star, and that 5-star take it to the house. So LSU's biggest are Clemson. Florida will be maybe tricky. Ole Miss, South Carolina, A&M, Bama, and Oklahoma. I just see more trip-ups. I really do for LSU.
Yeah, and I think the world of this Alabama team this year. I think the world of this Georgia team.
Yeah.
But the problem for both of those is Alabama plays on the road at Georgia, who is coming off a bye. They play LSU off of a bye on November 8th. So Alabama's got a tough road. Georgia plays a couple of teams off byes. So I think they've just they got the short end of that scheduling stick, and maybe it trips them up at some point this season. I still think they are really good and could make it through that gauntlet unscathed, but I'm not super confident in them doing so.
We've got the ACC and the Big 12. We'll do both of those on the other side. He's Diesel back in the Ingalls Market studios. I'm Cole Bryson live at Gaffney High School, where the McDonald's Kickoff Classic will kick off just in over an hour. 10 teams total involved tonight. We'll finish our predictions for the conference champions next.
wherever you love listening most.
Text or call. One number does it all. 844-326-3663. That's 844-FAN-PHONE. This is Wire to Wire with Cole Bryson and Diesel on the Fan Upstate.
Putting a bow on our number one of the show right here on the Fan Upstate. I'm Cole Bryson, Diesel back in the Ingalls Markets studios, working with engineering on a quick issue, so he'll be back with us in just a quick second. But we will get to our remaining predictions later in the show for the ACC and for the Big 12. Let's get to the top stories happening in sports. They are our daily wires. The Atlanta Braves defeated the New York Mets 4-3 on Thursday. Atlanta, I don't know, this is weird. They're a terrible team, but now they're beating the Mets late in the season, who aren't a terrible team. This Braves team, man, it's baseball. It's wacky. Atlanta in Cleveland tonight, 7:10 first pitch for the Bravos. Hurston Waldrop is on the mound for the Braves. The NCAA Division I Committee on Infractions ruled on the University of Michigan's advanced scouting case on Friday. We talked about this to open the show. In case you missed it, you can go back and listen anytime on the free Odyssey app. The school will face a series of fines that could eclipse $30 million. The Wolverines avoided penalties such as postseason ban or vacating of victories, including during the 2023 national championship season. The NCAA also imposed an additional game suspension for Coach Moore, which will be served for the first game of the 2026 season. Sharon Moore is expected to serve a 2-game suspension this season. So he's got 2 games this year and then 1 in 2026. Former NFL players now entering retirement age are more likely to be living with chronic pain or a disability, are more depressed and anxious, and are far more likely to report having some type of cognitive decline than the average American man, a new study found. How interesting is that? Yet, in spite of all of that, the vast majority say they would do it all over again and that playing football had a positive effect on their lives. So some interesting study, interesting data that came out from that case study. The Washington Commanders offense hasn't looked sharp for much of the summer, but offensive coordinator Cliff Kingsbury knows why. He said, look, there are too many players missing, starting with wide receiver Terry McLaurin, Scary Terry, with the season beginning in 3 weeks. They need the work. He says there hasn't been a ton of contact with him. Kingsbury said of McLaurin on Friday, he's been here, but he's been working with trainers. So until he gets back on the grass, that's when we'll start building that back up. Another one for you in our daily wires. Ole Miss defensive coordinator Pete Golding, on the heels of a record-setting season by the Rebels on defense, has signed a 3-year contract extension that places him among the top 4 highest-paid defensive coordinators in college football. Golding's new deal averages $2.61 million annually. The only 3 defensive coordinators nationally with a higher average salary are Penn State's Jim Knowles, Auburn's DJ Durkin, who's making $2.7, and USC's D'Ayton Lynn, who's making $2.65. By the way, Jim Knowles, Penn State, their new DC. Can you believe what he's making right now? $3.1 million over at Penn State as the new defensive coordinator. That's absolutely insane. Former Swarthmore track and field athlete Evelyn Parts sued Swarthmore College, several athletic department officials, and the NCAA on Thursday, claiming they discriminated against her because she is a transgender woman. Another lawsuit from a transgender. Imagine that. Also in the Daily Wires today, with 3 players involved in a federal gambling investigation, the NBA and its Players Association said this week that they support further limitations on certain types of bets to reduce the risk of manipulation and combat athlete abuse by gamblers. An NBA spokesperson came out and said, protecting the integrity of our game is paramount, and we believe reasonable limitations on certain prop bets should be given due consideration. And last Daily Wire for you before we run off to a break for hour number 2 of the show. The NFLPA, it's the Players Association, put one of its top lawyers on paid administrative leave on Tuesday after multiple employees filed complaints with the union's Human Resources Department. 5 sources with knowledge of the situation told ESPN on Thursday. Those are your Daily Wires for today. Tolos, want to let you know I am live at Gaffney High School where the McDonald's Kickoff Classic, it's a big jamboree. It's happening right here at Gaffney High School in just over an hour from now. Diesel back in the Ingalls Market Studios. We're going to talk high school football for the next 2 segments with Brock Kamrick of the Cherokee Chronicle, including 10 teams involved tonight. That's right, 5 games starting at 5 o'clock. They are 2 quarters apiece, but it's not just here in Gaffney tonight. Scrimmages and jamborees across the state happening tonight. Before Week 0 kicks off next Friday night, we'll have Burns hosting TL Hanna live on the Fan Upstate next Friday. We'll dive into the high school football conversation next on the Fan Upstate.
6.
Electrifying sports talk from start to finish.
You're going wire to wire
With Diesel and Cole Bryson.
on the Fan Upstate.
Well, it's really real, Cole. It's officially official. High school football is here. We had live high school football from the state of Georgia on TV last night, showing off that $62 million facility down at Buford High School in Georgia. So high school football is back in a neighboring state. It's going to be back here next Friday, and you are live at Gaffney High School for the McDonald's Jamboree. So Gaffney is there. Burns is there. Who else?
Burns is not tonight.
Burns is not there.
Nope, they are having their own little deal tonight. Gaffney, the first game, we'll put Brock Hamrick of the Cherokee Chronicle on the spot and see if he can rattle off the schedule by knowledge. First game is Blacksburg, Brock at 5 o'clock versus
North Gaston.
North Gaston. So, by the way, Brock Hamrick, good friend of the show. You've heard him on here before. He joins us in this segment and the next segment. So, Blacksburg, North Gaston at 5. I have no idea at 6. I've already forgotten.
Lawrence Chase.
Lawrence
Got
Chase.
the matchup between Greg Porter and Coach Sosby.
And
up
Chase,
at Chase in his first year.
Diesel, that's up in your old neck of the woods, North Carolina.
Chase.
Chase.
Oh, Chase.
Yeah, where's Chase?
It's just across the state line. So if you're on 221 headed out of Cherokee County or Spartanburg County and you get into Rutherford County, Chase is right there off of
But not far from Crest.
220. Probably with a 25-minute drive.
Okay.
20-minute drive from Crest.
I know you've heard of Crest. What was the player that played at Florida that played at Crest?
Brandon Spikes.
That's right. He was pretty good. So that's at 6. 7 o'clock is Gaffney.
Gaffney taking on Dutch Fort.
Ooh, that might be there might be some expectations or excitement rather around that one. And then Spartanburg, Mallard Creek at 8. And then Broome, Landrum at 9. Is that right?
And that's the nightcap tonight. You know, Cole, usually with these McDonald's Kickoff Classics, you have the home team that serves as that nightcap game, but that's not the case here this year, as most of the host schools played in that 7 o'clock time slot, and Gaffney will do that as well here tonight against the 3-time defending state champion, Dutch Fork Silver Foxes.
So, Diesel, there you go. 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. Is that right? 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. 2 quarters each, and Diesel, the magic trick or the magic question tonight, the biggest question is, how late do the games start? The last one's supposed to start at 9, but I would say probably more 9:30, 9:45,
at least 9. Yeah, at least 9:30. That's what we've seen in the past, and it's no one's fault. It's just the natural way kind of things play out. 2 quarters takes a little while, and so the second game's supposed to start at 6. Cole, it probably won't start till 6:10 or 6:15. Gaffney probably will be lucky if they get going by 7:20. But we certainly hope they keep the schedule tight here tonight. But nonetheless, high school football's back. We might as well enjoy it. And they're giving us plenty of it here tonight at McDonald's Kickoff Classic.
So, Brock, we're talking to Brock Hamrick of the Cherokee Chronicle right here on Wire to Wire with Diesel and Cole Bryson. From the conversations that you've had with coaches this year, coming into this jamboree, and coaches in years in the past, what do they really look to get out of their jamborees? I mean, what are they trying to install? What are they trying to look for when it comes to depth or starters, or kind of give me the idea as somebody who's not that familiar with the jamboree format, what's in it for the coaches and the teams?
What I like to tell Diesel is these jamborees are kind of like a dress rehearsal. They're going to come out onto the field as if this is a real game. They're going to do some type of coin toss, and then they're going to kick the football off. So this is an opportunity to kind of go through the motions, if you will, for what's going to take place for these teams the next 10 weeks. On the flip side of that, I think it depends who you are and what you look for out of these jamborees. You take a team like Blacksburg, who comes into this jamboree and this season with a lot of uncertainty, a lot of fresh faces on that offense. So tonight's an opportunity maybe to find some playmakers or maybe get a little bit of confidence under a young team. You take the flip side, a team like Dutch Fork returns a lot of experience, very talented team. For them, it may be more making a statement. And then when you look at a team like Gaffney, Diesel, I think tonight for the Indians, there's not a ton for Gaffney to win here tonight. If Gaffney goes out and wins this game against Dutch Fork, it's not like it means anything.
Yeah.
So I think tonight what coaches are looking for, Diesel, they want to see the energy out of their players. They want to see the excitement for the return of football, of course. Number 2, you want to see execution. This is the stuff you've worked on for 3 and now 4 months. Now it's time to execute on the field. And third of all, guys, we know next week it starts for real. This is your last tune-up. no more after this. They count next Friday night. I think those are just a couple of things that coaches will be watching here this evening.
If you just tuned in, I'm live with Brock Hamrick of the Cherokee Chronicle at Gaffney High School. Diesel back in the Ingalls Market Studios holding it down there. Tolos, if you have a high school football-related question, this segment is the time to ask that question at 844-326-3663. Hub City Spartanburgers text line is open, and the phone lines are open as well. Brock, Diesel and I, last week or the week before last, did our high school football kickoff shows with Greenville County. And on Friday, the 1st of August, we did Spartanburg County. And talking to all the coaches, sometimes Diesel and I are asking the same question, right? And then we're trying to figure out, what questions we want to ask depending on what school, and what their success has been. There are a lot of schools that are in the area, Brock, who are using these jamborees not as a statement, but to try to figure out who their starting quarterback is, trying to figure out who their starting running back is. That maybe these schools don't have the numbers that a Dorman or a Spartanburg has. They have less to choose from. And I believe tonight, and not here at Gaffney, but everywhere in these preseason jamborees and scrimmages, Diesel, I think we talked about this the other week, but I don't think people realize, even at the college level, like we think, oh, just a preseason scrimmage, yeah, no big deal. But there are coaches who still tonight don't know who the starters are. And we play football in a week. I mean, I was reading about Ohio State's quarterback competition earlier today. It's talking about D1 program like Ohio State, reigning national champions, 2 weeks away. They don't know who the quarterback's going to be. So I think we oftentimes forget as fans that while these games don't count, they don't count for anything. They do mean something, because there's coaches out there trying to figure out who's going to win the starting job at certain positions.
You're right.
I can imagine, Cole, that you start big. Can they function in an offense at this level? Are they confident? Are they competent? And then they start to drill down into the fine details. What wins you a job?
I think another thing, too, that we've seen over the last 2 to 3 years, 4 years in high school football is how fluid your roster can be. You can have, you take a team that has all the pieces, right? You may lose 2 to graduation, but then have 4 that transfer away. And it changes the dynamic of not only your starting rotation, but maybe your scheme as well. Mm-hmm. Because what you have may have not been, or what you currently have may not be what you had. And so you have to kind of adjust that as a coach. It is very, very difficult, Cole, when you're working with 15, 16, 17-year-old kids too. And I think there are several teams tonight that'll be looking for a lot. I think Lawrence will be looking for something tonight to try to build some confidence and maybe establish some guys at some positions. And then Gaffney as well, Cole. Indians have 2 quarterbacks on the roster, 2 that are very capable of playing. Expect to see both of them tonight. So there is, still a lot that's not decided for these coaches. You were talking to some of Greenville County coaches, and they were talking a couple of weeks ago, we're not exactly sure what kind of offense we want to run yet. And that is the reality. But it just comes so quick in these last 2 weeks of the season. Those decisions have to be made quickly.
Brock, I've pitched for a couple of years now that FCS versus FBS games should be moved to some form of a spring game format or a preseason opponent type format with as much care as possible to play local in-state schools to still pump money their way, even if they're taken off of the regular season schedule. Do you think that a jamboree type of format, even if it's modified in some way, is feasible at the college level, or is it just something that's special and unique to high school football that we should just let high school have this and not try to copy it elsewhere?
I think it could be done, and especially maybe, in a situation, take South Carolina, for example. You could have some of your teams like Furman, Walford, and teams like that compete in that jamboree against, maybe some of their a school of similar size. I think it could work. I can tell you, Cole, they've been doing quote-unquote jamborees at high school for a long time. But I remember back when we were at the old reservation and the crowds that would show up, even for just with 4 teams, just 2 games and huge crowds, because people are just so eager to see live football. And live football against another team, not playing, against your own defense or your own offense. So I think it could be replicated to the college level, and if done correctly, could create a lot of excitement, just like it does at the high school level. We're going to see it tonight. This place is going to be packed out. I saw Jim Sosby, the coach at Chase High School, posted they sold out of their allotment of early tickets for this jamboree tonight. So it does create that excitement ahead of the season.
On the Hub City Spartanburgers text line at 844-326-3663, RJ asks, what are Brock's thoughts about the teams in Region 2 5A and how the region will look? What does it mean to Brock to be the voice of Gaffney on the radio? Obviously, those are two different questions, but we'll start with Region 2 5A. Obviously, we talk a lot about Region 2 5A, Brock, with the likes of Dorman, Spartanburg, Gaffney, Burns, and Boiling Springs, and the three Greenville County teams with the Riverside, Wadehampton, and Eastside. Rounding out the 8-team region. Region 2 5A is the one that the texter asked about. We can park here for a second because there's plenty of content material just on Region 2 5A, but I'll let you have the floor. Diesel and I talked to every coach in Region 2 5A last Friday on the Spartanburg County High School Football Kickoff Show, and as it is every year, there's obviously a lot of excitement about this region.
There always is, Cole, and I think you have to start by looking at who has quarterbacks coming back. You have a Dorman team that has a young kid that played some last year and will likely get some more time and will get the full-time starting job this year. You've got a Spartanburg team that returns Trey Burke, who has played pretty much for 3 years. He came in for an injured quarterback a couple of years ago, and he has continued to develop each season. You got Gaffney bringing back Javon Gilmore. And then the quarterback situation at Burns, kind of still up in the air, but you do have Kane Rogers there, the starter from a season ago. I think you have to look at Gaffney and Spartanburg as the two front runners as far as trying to pick and hash out this region. One thing about Spartanburg we know is they're going to have a good defense.
Yeah.
They've had a good defense year in and year out, and I think what's held them back is the offensive line. So that's the question this year is Spartanburg. They've got Trent Lynch coming back in the backfield.
One of the best running backs in the state.
If they can give Trey Burke time, and he's not running for his life like he has been in years past, I think Spartanburg is certainly one of the teams to beat in the region. I think this Gaffney team has as much talent as we have seen in a long, long time. It's just about putting those puzzle pieces together. There's a lot of new faces for the Indians this year, and if they all gel together, it could be special. And Cole, you would know Burns better than I, but certainly there's always talent at Burns.
Sure.
And they've got a young quarterback that's showing a lot of promise and possibly could be the next kind of guy, if you will, the name behind the program for the Burns Rebels. And then you always have a team like Riverside, who last year had a really good season and had a lot of talent on that team. Matthew Rochester is doing a great job in Greenville County. Still don't know what to expect, Cole, from Boiling Springs. Losing Lincoln Husky, the field general, if you will, at the quarterback position, do-it-all kind of guy for Boiling Springs. So if I had to pick top two, it would probably be Gaffney and Spartanburg. I will tell you this, the Indians have won 8 in a row against the Vikings. That is the longest streak in Gaffney history. This year would make it 9, and that would be quite impressive. But you got to think that at some point, Mark Hodge is going to find a way to beat Gaffney, and it may be this year at his place.
And Brock, who else do you like out of Spartanburg County? I know a lot is made of Region 2 5A, and for good reason. That's where the biggest programs are, the most money, the most talent. They do cycle quite a bit of talent up that direction. But who else do you like out of smaller divisions, 4A, 3A, who number one will probably have a really good chance of running their region this year? And you think in a perfect world where you could put random teams on a field together, you think might have an opportunity to punch above their weight class?
I think two teams that come to mind first off is Woodruff and Mountain View Prep. You've got a Woodruff team and Brett Sloan that's taken over that program and really elevated it. And he has done a great job. Last season, they came up just short in the postseason. Maybe they take that additional step this year over there in Spartanburg County. And then, of course, MVP, Mountain View Prep, what Gray Ramsey was able to do in the first season of the program last year was impressive. Can they follow it up? I think they can. Certainly a very talented roster. Those are two that I'd like to mention there in Spartanburg County, Diesel. And then also you've got a team like Chesney with Coach Chappell that's really trying to turn the tide of a program that 15, 20 years ago was winning at a pretty consistent rate.
Yeah.
And so now they're trying to get those the wheels back under them, their feet back under them, if you will. So there's a lot of those 2 and 3A programs to watch out for this year. But if I had to pick one, watch out for Woodruff. Coach Sloan has those guys really headed in the right direction.
Woodruff's going to be good. I think Woodruff's got as good as a chance to win the region as they will in a long time. MVP obviously will be up there near the top of the region. We're going to have Gray Ramsey and a couple of players on the first Saturday scramble of 2025 tomorrow morning at 8:30. But they're going to be loaded. I just think that when you look at Woodruff, the combined talent, one of the best running backs in the state with their defense and quarterback, I think they're going to be really, really tough. Now, you mentioned Dorman, and Dorman's interesting with them not playing to Dorman standards over the past few years, not being the Dorman team that everybody who follows high school football, that we all knew Dorman to be a state contender every year, and they haven't been. And I think that, whether there's pressure on Jake Morris at Dorman or not, we all know that with a transfer quarterback in from Asheville, Michael Lancaster coming back as the offensive line coach, and Jason Farmer as the new offensive coordinator, I think the expectations and pressure on Dorman in 2025 are as big as anybody in the state, maybe. And look, there's always pressure on Gaffney and Burns. We know that. But you talk about expectations and pressure, I think there's a lot of pressure on Dorman in 2025.
And to be quite honest, there probably should be, right? Because the expectation at Dorman should be just the same that it is at Gaffney or at Burns, because they have so many athletes to choose from.
One of the biggest schools in the state.
One of the biggest schools. They have all the resources, really no excuse. And I'm sure that they've channeled maybe some of that. If there is any frustration, I don't know that there is, but I think you're seeing a move in the offseason, bringing in Jason Farmer, bringing back Coach Lancaster. I think what that is I think Dorman may try to return to what they were. And what I'm talking about is a heavy running attack and just a dominant force up front. And that's what the Cavaliers were for so many seasons. And that's why Coach Gutshaw is a Hall of Famer, and certainly deservingly so. So Dorman will be a fun one to watch this year, Cole, because you expect them to take that step, and we'll see how it plays out.
Brock, do you see anybody that you think has the ability, maybe had a little bit of a rough season last year, or kind of a middle of the road type of season, that has the ability this year and the talent to take another step, win another game or two over what they won last year?
First, you have to start with Union County, right? This is a Union County program that 25 years ago under Coach Mike Anthony, they win state titles, and they're a contender year in and year out. And then last year, I think they won 2 games. One of them over Blacksburg. They were down 18 with 1:50 left and won the football game against the Wildcats. But nonetheless, I think Union County is a team that can take that step forward. Quentin Isom's done a great job with that program. Didn't really have much when he got there, if we're being quite honest. But he certainly got the guys buying in. Cole, they won in the Jamboree. They beat Airport in the McDonald's
13-0.
In the McDonald's Kickoff Classic on Monday over in Union. So if I had to pick one, the Yellow Jackets may surprise some people this season. I'm not saying they're going to be contending for a region title, but watch for them to pick up maybe 4, maybe 5, 6 victories this season.
On the Hub City Spartanburgers text line, Tolo J. Butane says, Chase is in the Jamboree, question mark. WTF, that's my high school, class of 2025. Who is Chase playing?
Chase is playing Lawrence tonight.
Lawrence. Greg Porter, second year at Lawrence High School. It will be interesting to see from a Greenville County perspective before we run to a break real quick. Greenville High School, Brock, is an interesting talking point going into the 2025 season. Jay Beauchamps' short tenure at Greenville didn't live up to the expectations that Greg Porter set when he was there. And we all know that Greg Porter's teams at Greenville were really good. And Greg Porter also, by the way, won a state championship at Hillcrest High School. I don't know how many coaches can say that. Actually, I do know. It's none. Greg Porter's a really good coach. Lawrence is a place where he's kind of having to figure things out from almost a revamping standpoint, a brand new offense. They have more of a ground attack, and they just don't have the number of athletes that a lot of other big schools, especially with all the kids moving into Greenville right now. To see Greg Porter and what he could possibly do at Lawrence in year 2, I think is a big story going into this fall.
I do too, Cole, because whenever he left Greenville High School, I don't know about you, but I kind of thought to myself, why? Leaving Greenville to go to Lawrence. And I hate to say that, but Lawrence has always been a team that's known for a kind of a physical brand of football. And I think that's why Coach Porter has kind of found a niche there running the football at great success like he has. And I think he's kind of fit his scheme to fit his players. But Cole, when he was at Greenville, he took that Red Raider team to the upper state title game. They ended up losing to Northwestern, but it will be interesting to see what happens with Greg Porter. And then on the flip side at Greenville, you've got a first-year coach moving over from J.L. Mann and Scoot Watson over to Greenville High School, and we'll see if they can pick up more so like the Greg Porter days and less like the J-Bo Shaw.
No doubt. We'll continue the conversation. You don't know it yet, Brock, but Diesel and I are going to put you in a corner in the next segment. Brock's a South Carolina fan, but secretly, Brock has told me that he is not as high on Shane Beamer as some are. We're going to paint you in the corner and see if we can get you to sway to the other side and continue the football conversation. A little high school football, a little college mixed in as well, as we are live at Gaffney High School, just about 40 minutes away from the first game. They're 2-quarter games between Blacksburg High School and North Gaston High School happening at the reservation. McDonald's Kickoff Classic tonight. We'll continue the conversation with Brock Hamrick next.
sports takes at the door. Call in if you're man enough.
844 Fan Phone. This is Wire to Wire with Diesel and Cole Bryson on the Fan Upstate.
Back here at Gaffney High School, where we are live on location, joined by Brock Hamrick of the Cherokee Chronicle. Diesel's back in the Ingles Markets studios. Hope you Tolos are having a fantastic Friday. Maybe your weekend has already started. We have an audio blitz coming for you a little bit later in the show. We also, in 30 minutes from now, will be predicting our 12-team college football playoff. We'll do that at 5 o'clock. Diesel will tell you who we like in and who we like out. Now that we have predicted the conference champions earlier in the show, we'll predict the 12 teams that will be in the CFP at 5 o'clock. Brock Hamrick joining us for one more segment as we are at Gaffney High School. 10 teams tonight competing in the Kickoff Classic, the McDonald's Kickoff Classic. Over at Chapman tonight, also some games going on. Boiling Springs hosting a D2 Jamboree with Chesney, Union County, Boiling Springs, Ridgeview, Dorman, and J.L. Mann. The last high school team or last high school question I have for you, Brock, is that's a really good, first of all, that's a really good jamboree happening over there at Boiling Springs tonight. But J.L. Mann's interesting. Greenville County, you mentioned Scoot Watson was at J.L. Mann. He's now at Greenville High School, and he had very quick success at J.L. Mann High School, almost as if, we had always thought of J.L. Mann High School as a big-time competitor, but the reality is they weren't. J.L. Mann used to not be a year-in and year-out competitor, and we saw some good games between J.L. Mann and Gaffney over the past few years, and it ties back into Gaffney because as Scoot Watson moves to Greenville, former Gaffney player and coach who we had on the show during the Greenville County High School football kickoff show, Bryce Smiley, is now over at J.L. Mann. What do you think realistic expectations are? Because obviously now in the world that we live in with high school players being able to transfer, we know some J.L. Mann players went to Greenville with Coach Watson, but Bryce Smiley is Brock finally getting his opportunity to lead his own program, and will be doing so at J.L. Mann.
Yeah, you're right, Cole. And Bryce Smiley is a guy that's been at Gaffney for a long time. And now he's making that step as a head coach in this first opportunity at J.L. Mann. Number one, you're right. Scoot Watson, it was quite impressive and almost unbelievable what he was able to do with that program. They were contending in the upper state title game against Dutch Fork 2 years
Just
ago.
a couple of plays away from winning that game.
Yes. And so now you flip the script to a now first-year head coach in Bryce Smiley, and you're right, the current era of how quickly players can come and go. I think with Coach Smiley, what you're going to see there at J.L. Mann is he's going to try to build something. I don't think he's going to be like a Scoot Watson that is there for, 3, 4, 5 years, have success, and then move on. I think Smiley's going to really try to build it from the ground up, if you will.
Yeah.
And in talking with him, Cole, in this offseason, he told you guys we're still not exactly sure what kind of offense, our base offense is going to be at that time. And I think that just shows that he wants to make sure they get it right here in year one, expectation-wise, as far as wins and losses. I don't know where you would put that for that J.L. Mann team and the talent that they have coming back. I'm not 100% sure on because we haven't seen them this preseason.
Sure.
There'll be some over at Boiling Springs to get a first look at them tonight. But I think Coach Smiley will do a very good job at J.L. Mann, and I think he's going to build something that's going to hang around for a little while, not like J.L. Mann has been in the past 20 years or so, maybe one season here or there, but never a contender. I think Coach Smiley's one that can put them on the map.
Talking to Brock Hamrick of the Cherokee Chronicle, live on Wire to Wire with Diesel and Cole Bryson. Something that Cole said in the last segment, the tail end of that last segment, he brought up the number of players and people that are moving to Greenville. And obviously, there's a lot of Tolos who are listening right now bemoaning the fact that, the upstate grows by about 35,000 new residents every single year. For both of you, good question for both of you. How have you seen those demographic shifts of new players from out of state moving into the area kind of change the landscape of college, of high school football over these past couple of years as it's really kind of picking up steam?
I don't know that I can point to, certain players or programs that have gotten better, but I think one thing to think about, Cole, is with all this growth, you see a lot of teams in Greenville County. You think about a team like Greer, who for years was the best team kind of in that area, right? But now you've got Riverside, who's gotten a lot better. You've got J.L. Mann, who's now on the map in Greenville County. So I think the growth here in this area is creating a little bit of parity in some areas of high school football. And then on the flip side of that, as far as the transfers go, it's kind of a year-by-year basis. But I think some of these programs like a J.L. Mann have benefited from that being in place and some of the new faces that have arrived. You look at a place like Gaffney, though, and enrollment-wise, growth-wise, kids-wise for classification and realignment, Gaffney is kind of teetering near that drop down to a 4A school.
Sure.
So, there's a give and a take with that growth. Some places are experiencing it, some are not. But I think Greenville County is a good place to kind of point to because, Cole, we've said it for years. At least 10 years ago, Greenville County football, there was not much to talk about.
Yeah, and I think, Diesel, to give my answer to your question, it's an interesting question because we do look at the transfers of players, first of all, and that's what we hear about the most with Twitter and social media. But I think, for me, it goes back more into the coaches. We have really good coaches in Greenville County now. Not saying we didn't 15 years ago, but you look at the coaches in Greenville County, with from the Matthew Rochesters to the Scoot Watsons to you name the Bryce Smileys, and I shouldn't name one because I'm going to forget them all, but the Bennett Swaggarts at Hillcrest. We just simply didn't have the coaching in Greenville County, Diesel, 10, 15, 20, 30 years ago that we do now. So, yes, to your original question, kids moving in matters, but I believe when you have the coaches there, the quality of coaches, you're seeing less of spurts here and there, 1 year, 2 years, and you're seeing more consistent programs and cultures being built. That's something that Greenville County just simply hasn't had. And when you get a good coach in place, you talked about it with Bryce Smiley, he knows how to build a culture. He knows how to develop the young players at the youth level and get them coming up through the high school ranks the right way. And I just think coaching matters so much in high school because you're talking about 15, 16, 17, 18-year-old kids, Diesel, whose minds are still molding and their bodies are still molding. Not saying coaching doesn't matter at the pro level, but I think at the high school level, good coaching matters. And I think good coaching shows. Just looking at 2025 in Greenville County, the amount of good coaches that have come to Greenville County is spectacular.
And would you say, and maybe you don't have the answer to this question, maybe you're not privy to the answers to this question, would you say that a lot of the Greenville County schools have seen the success of, the Region 2 5A schools up there in Spartanburg County, and they've really kind of stepped it up with the amount of money and the amount of resources that they're willing to put into not only their facilities, but coaching staffs as well, because you and I both know the best coaches want to go where they're going to get paid the most.
So, great question. It's always been Spartanburg County above everything else, North Carolina, Midlands, lower part of the state, Spartanburg County and Cherokee County, and the upstate is always paid more, especially in Spartanburg and Cherokee County. I don't think Greenville's there yet. I still talk to coaches in Greenville County who are really good coaches that aren't getting the support and pay and other things that come along with it. People don't realize admin support is crucial. Yeah, you can talk about pay, Diesel, because pay is important, but the admin support, just from not my knowledge, but hearing from coaches who have been really good coaches in Greenville County over the years, but didn't have the admin support to give them the necessary resources. I'll use Travis Miller, for example, who's from up in this neck of the woods, Brock.
Blacksburg, yeah.
Yeah, he was at Wade Hampton High School. But before that, Travis Miller was one of the best offensive coordinators in the state at Bowling Springs. Led them to a state championship in 2016. My opinion, I don't believe, Diesel, to answer your question, that Travis Miller, for example, when he left Bowling Springs in 16 to go to Wade Hampton in 17, I don't believe that Wade Hampton gave him the support enough that he needed in order to take Wade Hampton to a new place, to a level they haven't been to. Now, Wade Hampton's a tough place to win football games. It always has been. And look, it's still going to be a tough place, especially with the region that they're in. But admin support matters. Yes, pay matters, but I think there's so much more to be said from getting the support of the admin. So going back to your original question, Diesel, I hope and pray that the schools in Greenville County and the people in Greenville County that are in those positions, look, I'm not saying that academics aren't important by any stretch of the imagination. They are important. But Greenville County has always been looked at as the county who kind of in a way, cares more about academics than they do athletics. And like those can go hand in hand. Just ask Dorman, right? And we've seen that happen. So, Brock, not to step over you and steal your thunder there, but I just think that admin success is crucial to that.
Yeah, the support, you've got to have it not only from your administrators at your school, but also from the district level as well, where the decisions are primarily made on funding. I remember we went to JL Mann for the first game of the season last year with the Gaffney broadcast, and we walked in and they were doing some work over on the bottom end of the stadium.
Yeah.
And I walked down and ended up running into the athletic director, and we were kind of talking, and they had created a new entrance for fans at JL Mann. But we were talking, amongst ourselves, and he said, to be honest, he said, we're finally getting that support.
Yeah.
And I think you're seeing that in all the Greenville County schools got turf, right?
That's
the
right.
Commitment from them to turf all the football fields, soccer fields, lacrosse fields as well. So I think you are starting to see the support come from the admin and the district level as well. That's what's been the key when you look at programs like Burns, like a Gaffney, Spartanburg. That's always been the key, is support. You've got it takes a village, right? It's a lot more than just a head coach, not only the school, but the community as well. And so I think Greenville County's finally starting to get some of that. We used to go to Greenville County games years ago, Cole. There'd be nobody there on the home side. But that's certainly starting to turn around now.
Diesel, Brock doesn't know it, but before we let him go, we're going to paint him in the corner. Brock has told me in the past that he is a South Carolina fan. However, just so you know, Diesel, I am still working on Brock to get Brock to the level of admiration for Shane Beamer that I have. Brock, I don't want to steal your words here, but I don't think you're sold on Shane Beamer yet.
No, I'm not. And to be honest, I guess I have unrealistic expectations. To be quite honest with y'all, I don't follow the Gamecocks as much as I used to, but I still watch college football just as much. But then again, here's my thing with South Carolina, Cole. I guess we were spoiled with Steve Spurrier and those three 10-plus win seasons.
11.
Yep. And I don't know that we'll ever be back to that. And there's a lot of hype been put on this year's team, but you lose a guy like Rocket Sanders that was just unbelievable at running back a season ago, a guy that could just single-handedly take over a game. And to be honest, wide receiver core, who do you have? Nick Harbor?
Nick Harbor is the leader in the clubhouse.
Okay.
Yeah.
So
Nazio Bennett, we'll see, what he develops to. But yeah, Nick Harbor is the guy.
But I'll still be watching in the fall. I'm not sold on the Gamecock hype just yet. And if I had to pick an outcome, Cole, I think I heard you and Diesel talking about it, but that opening stretch, Virginia Tech, South Carolina State, Vanderbilt, and then that Missouri game, that opening stretch of games is going to make or break them.
They're going 5-0?
If they go 5-0, it's certainly a great start. You add that Kentucky game as well the following week before you have the bye. But I don't know. I think realistic expectations are probably 8-4, 7-5.
Yeah, that's what Diesel. Would you have him 8-4?
8-4.
I did too. I think we both had him at 8-4.
And hopefully that's a win in the bowl game, right? You don't want to lose the bowl game and have no momentum going to the next season. So I'm certainly pulling for the Gamecocks, and this will be the first season that my friend Mike Furry will be down there in Columbia as the wide receivers coach at the University of South Carolina. So, or second season actually with Coach Beamer, but nonetheless, it's always fun to watch on Saturdays in Columbia, which I don't go as much as I used to, but.
Brock, I hate to do this to you, but Shane Beamer has just called into the show, and he has a 3-word sentiment just for you. He wants you to find some joy.
Find some joy.
I've got some joy.
Find some joy. I love Beamer. I think
he's a great guy. I just don't know if he is the coach that everyone has made him out to be.
You're ripping my heart out right now.
He's a really good rah-rah guy. I just don't know that when things go south, if he's the guy that can step in and right the ship. I don't know.
Well, maybe a follow-up to that, and here's a guy that his resume, I think, speaks for itself. How do you feel about Mike Shula stepping in to run this offense? He's obviously been around the game for a long, long time, and Dow Loggins did a great
App State,
job
baby,
coaching up Lenore Sellers last year. Do you think that he can, Mike Shula can step in and kind of keep that ship rolling? Do you think it's going to take a little time to get moving, or immediate step up day one because Mike's resume is so good?
Well, his resume is very, very good, and I think that is a great hire that Coach Beamer made. But I think keep an eye on number 16 this year, because that's where it's going to hinge for the Gamecocks, right, with Lenora Sellers. Mike Shula's been a guy that's known to work with quarterbacks in the past and develop them. Lenore's had a great year last year. Folks are expecting him to be a Heisman maybe contender by the end of the season, one of the better quarterbacks in the SEC possibly. I think it's a lot of pressure for a guy that's only played one season, and we'll see what he has here in this second run.
Shula had a guy in Cam Newton that turned out pretty good. And the last thing I'll say, because I know we got to run to a break, Diesel, the last thing I'll say is, Brock, the rah-rah comment you made, you might not be wrong on that, but I will tell you there's a rah-rah guy in the upstate who won 2 national championships, so it can be done, because that's what Dabo was. Fans always said Dabo was just a rah-rah cheerleader guy, and lo and behold, Dabo Swinney won 2 national championships.
I don't think we have to worry about winning a national title in Columbia.
Don't sell yourself short. Hey, Brock, I'm going to give you a special insight, a sneak peek into what's coming up in the very next segment by asking you this question. I want our Tolos to text in as well. 844-FAN-PHONE. What is the number one place, the number one late night restaurant in Gaffney to go to after you've just called a high school football game?
That's a good question, Diesel, by the way. I like that.
Options are limited.
Very in Gaffney. Very. In Gaffney they are. But
maybe we should just pull up a grill outside the stadium.
So Mr. Waffle out on the interstate used to be open 24/7. He also had Norma's Truck Stop, but neither of those are open. Norma's is closed and Mr. Waffle's not open 24/7 anymore. So your options pretty much hinge around McDonald's, Waffle House, or Cookout. And I think Cookout's pretty popular around here. For myself, though, I'm a big Waffle House guy. You cannot go wrong at the Waffle House. You can get breakfast, you can get supper, whatever you want. They've got it.
So Diesel,
and that is on my way home from the stadium on home games. I have to pass it. So
Diesel, are you going to eliminate Waffle House from being an option as the answer to this? Okay, so it's okay, because I would imagine that Waffle House, it's in most towns, right?
Hey, Waffle House hits every single time. I think out of the God, it's hard to even fathom how many times I've been to a Waffle House in my lifetime. Out of all of those times, I don't think I've ever had a C level or worse experience.
No,
like it's always good. It always hits just right, especially if it's like 2 or 3 in the morning.
Yeah, it's true. It really is. But I like that. Let's see what our Tolos send in. The best spot after a high school cookout. I do love Cookout. I really do, man.
I do too.
Cookout's so good. It's cheap, Diesel.
Tolos, 844-326-3663. Where do you go after a high school football Friday night? What's the number one spot in your town? If you need a quick bite after the game, text in, call in. We'll get to that next right here on the Fan Upstate.
844-263-6663. That's 844-FAN-PHONE. This is Wire to Wire with Cole, Bryson, and Diesel on the Fan Upstate.
Cole, I don't know if there are any high school jamborees going on in Greenville County right now, but they're going to get some of that preseason practice in the rain, my friend. It is dumping down.
I'm sure there are. I'm sure there are some Greenville County scrimmages and jamborees going. With the amount of schools in Greenville, I would imagine so.
Yeah, I'm trying to find it real quick to see if anybody is doing a jamboree here in Greenville County. Kind of hard to scroll down Greenville News. Thanks for packing this thing full of ads, guys. So we touched on it at the end of the last segment. Unfortunately, Gaffney, the sprawling metropolis that it is, doesn't have a whole lot of late night dining options after a high school game, which you would think, Cole, that there would be quite a few like, those great old school mom and pop spots around town that stay open late at night.
Well, there are,
midnight or so.
There are, but you got to be 21 to get in those. You know what I mean?
You just want to go get a cheeseburger and a hot dog, and you got to show your ID. That's crazy.
Yeah, but I do like some of the texts coming in on the text line, the Hub City Spartanburgers text line. Texter from the 887 Diesel says, Limestone alumni here. I can barely stomach cookout because I ate it so much in college. Again, answering the question of the best late night spot after a high school football game. Jersey Joe going with
that's
IHOP.
Your fault, by the way. That's your fault for putting all your eggs in the same basket.
Yeah.
There's literally a saying about it.
You gotta mix it up a little bit.
Spread it around.
Here's the text I didn't think we'd see. I didn't realize people still ate at IHOP. Jersey Joe Diesel says IHOP on Woodruff Road. His kids played at Malden from 2010 to 2015, and they always went to IHOP on Woodruff Road after the game. I didn't know people still ate at IHOP.
I love IHOP.
Do you really?
I mean, it is a distant second to Waffle House. Let's be real.
It's too clean.
If they're willing, exactly. If you don't have to take a napkin and wipe your spoon off, just to be sure, I don't want to eat there. Not at 3 a.m, right? I'm not looking for cleanliness. I'm not looking for perfect, impeccable service. I'm just looking for a pecan waffle, maybe some chocolate chips in there, smothered, covered, chunked, and capped.
I like
That's all I want.
That sounds really good right now, by the way.
Right? I mean, the All-Star breakfast can't be beat.
No, it can't. 919 on the text line says, I go to the place that is going to be serving up the crow that Brock will be eating after this year's Gamecock season. I like that. Texter from the 803 Diesel says, Waffle House certainly wins, but when I was in high school, the Sonic was the spot after we finished up on Friday nights. This texter says he played at Dutch Fork. So Sonic, that Sonic's underrated, isn't it? It's still pretty good.
Maybe is the better question, where do you go before games when all towns still have everything open?
No, I like the late night. 1, 2 a.m. Well, not 1, 2 a.m., maybe 12 o'clock. Maybe 1 o'clock in the morning, depending on where you are, right?
I don't even have to go to a football game to still be out that late at night.
That's true. And there's always, you know what, Diesel, one we haven't heard, and I don't know if you'll allow me to submit this one, but it's always open.
Okay.
Quick Trip always has some pretty good food. It's not bad. QT's got good food, and it's always open 24/7, right?
Well, you know me and gas station food.
Yeah, that's true.
It's a last resort only kind of thing.
Yeah, it really is. I'm with you there. Diesel, we did not get our final 2 conference champions. We'll do that in the very next segment, as well as predict the 12-team college football playoff. Who makes the 12-team CFP? Tolos, want to hear from you at 844-326-3663. That conversation next on the Fan Upstate.
tracks.
Electrifying sports talk from start to finish.
You're going wire to wire
With Diesel and Cole Bryson.
on the Fan Upstate.
Our week of predictions roll on, Diesel. All week long, we've predicted Clemson's schedule, South Carolina's schedule, even the Carolina Panthers, all 4 conference champions. We still have 2 to get to here at the front end of this segment. And then we will predict who makes the 12-team college football playoff, the 12 teams that are in. Tolos, want to hear from you as well. Which teams do you think get in? If you want to call the show, you can at 844-FAN-PHONE. Hub City Spartanburgers text line also open at 844-326-3663. Diesel's back in the Ingles Market studios where he says it's pouring down rain. Is it still raining?
It looks like it's just starting to slow down now. It's raining, but the sky is completely gray.
Okay.
Kind of looks like those fugly gray uniforms that South Carolina tried to pull off a couple of years ago. Was like 10 years ago or so. That sort of dark, sad gray. That's the color of the skies. The parking lot completely wet. But of course, Cole, when I parked my Jeep, it was nice and sunny, not a cloud in the sky. So yeah, of course, I left my window cracked just a little bit. And what happens? It starts dumping the rain. So again, my vehicle being open to the elements is the nexus for what causes rain and weather in my immediate area.
Those summertime storms get you if you drive a Jeep, right? Leave the windows down. Blue skies here, Diesel, at Gaffney High School, where I am just a few minutes now from the start of the McDonald's Kickoff Classic. 5 games tonight, 10 total teams getting their final test and final work in before the season begins. Week 0 is next Friday. Let's predict. Let's finish our prediction week, our week of predictions. Before we get to the 12-team college football playoff, Diesel, we still have the ACC and the Big 12 to predict. And we talked about the SEC and the Big 10 earlier in the show. Do you want to – I'll let you go first if you want to go with the ACC first or Big 12 first.
I'll go with the ACC first.
Okay.
I think there are really only 2 contenders for the ACC championship this year.
Okay.
And my level of confidence is actually pretty high on this one with my number 1 team. It's Clemson. They are by far and away the most talented team in the conference this year. I know that you think there's a chance they slip up and lose to Louisville on a Friday night midway through the season.
Sure.
And that is a very real possibility. This team, has shown, and Dabo Swinney-led teams have shown that, sometimes they're just a little ill-prepared to handle the moment sometimes. And, it's like getting the yips when you're playing golf. You can't figure out why it happens. The shanks just happen. And it seems to happen one time for Clemson every year. I don't think that's a possibility in the ACC against that schedule. So Clemson's going to be in the ACC championship game. And by virtue, we've talked about this a lot, by virtue of just having a cakewalk, might as well be playing an FCS schedule. Miami will also be in the ACC championship game. I think it's going to be Clemson, Miami, and then Clemson probably boat races them in that title game.
Yeah, I'm with you. I believe that Clemson is in a boat by themselves, and then the next tier down, I'd have SMU and Miami and Georgia Tech. The 3 of those. SMU ACC championship a season ago, Diesel. And when you bring back your quarterback, as SMU does with Kelvin Jennings, there's a lot to be said for that. I think SMU's got an opportunity to have a really good year in 2025, but winning the conference is not the same thing as having a good year, right? Miami, to your point, I like Carson Beck. I think he will be a little bit of I think he'll be a quarterback in 2025 that will have a little bit of a chip on his shoulder, right? A lot of people doubting Miami. And Carson Beck, look, let's face it, he's seen some of the best competition over the course of his career, maybe even more so than Cade Klubnik has at Clemson, with Beck being in the SEC at Georgia. And then Georgia Tech, look, Georgia Tech's a nice story, Diesel. Brent Key is a tremendous coach. We both love Brent Key. We talked to him at ACC Media Days, and we believe that, look, with Haynes King back there in the backfield, it's going to be a team that can wreak havoc. I just don't know that ultimately Georgia Tech's an ACC championship team. So to finish our conference predictions, yeah, I'll agree with you. I think Clemson does win the ACC.
Tell me what you think about this, Cole. I saw this earlier today, or maybe it was yesterday that I saw this. Miami offensive coordinator Shannon Dawson said that he believes Carson Beck has the potential to be Miami's second straight number 1 overall pick at quarterback.
You know,
I know that he's the OC. He doesn't have to say things like that, but I guess he believes it. Your reaction?
It sounds like something Dabo would say. So I don't have a problem having confidence in your quarterback. Could it happen? Yeah, it could happen, but I do believe, Diesel, that Miami would have to be playing in the national championship for it to happen, or at least make a deep run in the CFP. Not saying it couldn't, but ultimately, you did bring up their schedule. Their schedule is manageable, but I don't know that Carson Beck does what Cam Ward did in terms of going number 1 in April. So ACC's complete, SEC's complete, Big Ten and is complete as well. Diesel, that leaves the Big 12 conference, where you and I have to pick the winner of the Big 12 before we can give our CFP predictions of who is in your winner that will win the Big 12 conference in 2025.
Oh, this one was by far the hardest.
No doubt.
It's a log jam of teams that are all pretty good, that all bring back a lot of starters. So you can't look and say, oh, this team brings back a bunch, this team brings back almost none. Clearly, the team that's got more starters coming back is going to have the better season. It's impossible, man. Arizona has 17 starters coming back. Baylor has a ton of starters coming back. Kansas State, BYU, they all have a ton of starters coming back. And BYU, those dudes are 30.
Mm-hmm.
So, they're going to have some continuity and skill playing together.
So I'm going to go Arizona State. Arizona State's my pick to win the conference. You look at starters coming back. You talked about, Arizona and Baylor having some guys. This team was 11-3 a season ago, Diesel, and I believe yesterday or the day before we talked a little bit about Arizona State. Kenny Dillingham's a good coach, third year overall. They return 8 guys offensively and 9 defensively. Their schedule sets up for them to have some tests along the way that will prepare them for the conference championship, but will also these will allow them to, again, have a manageable, navigable path. Northern Arizona, first week, they do go to Mississippi State. Then they have Texas State, at Baylor, TCU, at Utah, Texas Tech, Houston, at Iowa State, West Virginia, at Colorado, and then hosting Arizona. I think Arizona State's the conference champion in 2025 for the Big 12. Sam Leavitt at quarterback. Look, he's going to be one of the better quarterbacks in the country. And when you look at the rest of the conference, I'm just not so sure that the conference can boast a quarterback that rivals what Sam Leavitt will be in 2025.
Yeah, I mean, he was a combined 3,500-yard quarterback last year, right around 3,000 passing yards and somewhere around 400 or 500 running yards last year, which is pretty good for a quarterback, especially when you got Cam Scatabo there to carry the load. I don't know that he's going to have that. I mean, he, of course, they have a guy who's probably got some talent there, but is he going to be able to carry the load that Cam Scatabo did last year that allows Sam Leavitt to create with his legs, right? Not to have to be the number 1 option there to run the ball. So it's going to be interesting to see if he can repeat that, and maybe he'll have to do it a lot more this year.
So who was your pick?
My pick was Arizona State.
Okay, we're both going to Arizona State.
Yeah, Sam Leavitt is the most talented quarterback in the conference, but it's hard to say that, with really good players at Kansas State.
Yeah. Kansas State, Kansas State will be a sleeper. They can win the conference. Let me ask you this before we move on to our CFP predictions. Right now today, if you were a head coach and I gave you the choice between Drew Aller at Penn State and Sam Leavitt, who are you choosing at quarterback?
Ooh. Now, Drew Aller's a senior. Sam Leavitt, if memory serves me correct, sophomore.
Yep.
So would I want a guy that more of a gunslinger, younger?
It's tough, right?
All things being equal, if I could plop him on Penn State's roster or vice versa, I think I'd rather have Sam Leavitt.
I think I'm with you there. I really do. I like him a lot. I think he could be really special over the next 2 years, leading Arizona State. So those are our core 4, whatever you want to call them, not Power 5 anymore, but our 4 major conference predictions. To recap, in the Big 12, Diesel and I both picked Arizona State. In the ACC, we both picked Clemson. In the SEC, you picked Texas. No, I picked Texas.
I picked LSU.
You picked LSU. I picked Texas in the SEC. And in the Big 10, you picked?
I picked Ohio.
Ohio State. I did as well. It should be interesting. So we were in agreement on most of those, Diesel. So now let's get to it.
Well, before we move on, Cole,
yeah.
We've just had something happen on these airwaves that hasn't happened in a while. We had a call in from Rick and Greer.
Oh,
so we know that Rick and Greer is alive. Don't know if he's well, but he's alive.
Really?
And he was on hold there for about 3 minutes, and then he just disappeared.
Is he in jail?
Yeah, I didn't get the intro message that says you're receiving a call from the from the Greenville County Corrections Facility. So I don't think he's in jail. But Rick and Greer, call back in. I don't know what happened. I don't know why the call got dropped. But call back in, and we'll get you on the line.
Well, Diesel, you do only get a certain amount of minutes calling from jail, so maybe that's what it was, if he was. Yeah, Rick, we appreciate hearing from you just to know you're okay. Diesel, when it's all said and done, when the dust settles in 2025, Tolos in the upstate, Spartanburg, Greenville, Anderson, I want to hear from you as well. The 12-team college football playoff. So the first four, Ohio State for me, Texas, Clemson, and Arizona State win the conference. You said Ohio State wins the Big Ten. LSU wins the SEC, Clemson wins the ACC, and Arizona State wins the Big 12. That leaves 8 teams to make the CFP. I do like how they're doing the top 4 this year, Diesel, with it not automatically being the conference champion that gets the top 4 bids. I like that. It does give you a little bit more flexibility in terms of putting a higher ranked team near the top. So I'll start with.
But I don't like it.
You don't like it?
I don't. I like the way it was last year. I liked I liked making conference championships be the pinnacle of the first part of your season. Like capstone that thing off.
Yeah.
Conference championship is absolutely crucial, and you get rewarded for winning your conference championship. Otherwise, we've just devalued the conference championship game to the point that why do we even play it other than money?
Well, I still think you're rewarded in the sense that you get in, but that getting in doesn't guarantee you one of those top 4 spots. So take for the ACC, for example, or even the Big 12, there are probably most years 2 or 3 teams out of the SEC that are that are better than the ACC champion or the Big 12 champion. So I think it does allow you to have a little bit more flexibility. If you have too many standards and rules and practice in place, you can't really mold it the way you want to and allow truly the best teams, when it's all said and done, to be ranked the way you want them to be ranked, because you already have these standards in place of where you have to rank the conference champions. So my conference champions, Ohio State, Texas, Clemson, and Arizona State. Diesel, I'll rattle off my remaining 8 and then give you the floor. I have Notre Dame also making the CFP in 2025. They don't play in the conference, obviously, and they have a similar type schedule as the ACC and Big 12, where it's very manageable. Notre Dame gets in. Penn State gets in because you and I talked about it earlier. Penn State will be competing for the conference with Ohio State in the Big Ten. They may knock them off, but if they don't, Diesel, I don't expect Penn State to have too many losses to where they can't get in the CFP. I also have Oregon as one of the 12 teams in the college football playoff. Out of the SEC, I have Alabama making the college football playoff, LSU making it, Georgia making it, and then Miami and Boise State rounding out the top 12. So out of the SEC, you have the SEC champion, Texas gets in. On top of that, Bama, LSU, and Georgia, meaning 4 teams get into the CFP out of the SEC. Boise State's your G5 team that gets in, and then you get 2 teams in, Diesel, from the ACC being Miami and Clemson.
Yeah, I mean, I can't push back on any of those too hard.
You like that?
The big question is the G5 team, and if you look at, Phil Steele's power rankings for the 2025 season, and you start comparing the tippy tops of the American, Mountain West, Sun Belt Conference USA, and the MAC. Looks like the AAC has a lot of pretty good teams that are all rated at 100 or better. Tulane, Navy, Memphis, Army, UT San Antonio, and South Florida. The Mountain West has 3 in Boise State, UNLV, and San Jose State. James Madison, the sole team rated above 100 in the Sun Belt. And then nobody in Conference USA and the MAC is rated above 100. Certainly Boise State having the highest rating and by a fairly wide margin.
Sure.
You could say that, that's a top heavy conference as per usual, 3 really good teams and a bunch of everybody else's after that. I think they'll get enough respect for the schedule that they play. Obviously it matters what happens when they play their power program. I'm trying to see who that is this season. Didn't have that quite ready to go when the time came, but I do want to see who they play this year. And the question is, do they have that kind of performance that we saw against Oregon last year? The Boise State schedule sets up with on the road at USF, Eastern Michigan at home, Air Force on the road, App State at home. So they don't play a power program this year. And I do wonder if not having a signature win like that is going to hurt a team like Boise State, especially if they take a loss or two in conference. I mean, that's going to be the thing that cannot separate them like the Oregon game did last year.
So I'm with you. I think Boise State, even without Ashton Jeanty, I think they're still primed to make a run at the CFP. But Diesel, let me throw one at you from the G5, and I want to get your response to this, okay? Possible team to make the CFP that's a G5, right? We know that only one team of the G5s make it, right? You ready? 2025 Navy. Any issue? So Navy's schedule sets up interesting. They have VMI, UAB at Tulsa, Rice, Air Force at Temple, Florida Atlantic at North Texas, one good game against Notre Dame, USF, Memphis, Army, and then the American Championship. So what if Navy is a one-loss team, Diesel, with that loss being the Notre Dame, who's going to be in the CFP? It's going to be a top 25 team, probably a top 10 team. If Navy's a one-loss team and Boise State's a one-loss team, because Boise State, kind of like Navy, has one game where it might be tough to win. I can't remember off the top of my head who it is. But I will tell you this, Diesel. I think Navy, depending on how they do against everybody else, including that game in November at Memphis, don't be surprised if Navy's in the conversation to make the CFP, being the G5.
I mean, they could be. They bring back, a fair amount of experience of starters off of last year's team, 13 guys, returning 47 lettermen. So they're going to be changing over with a lot of new faces on this team.
Yeah.
But, it's really just going to be twos elevating to ones. And that was a good team last year. That was a 10-win team last year. So those twos elevate to ones. They could be pretty good. I would have thrown a team like UNLV out there, but here's the problem. Everybody's gone. They bring back 5 starters off of an 11-win team last year. It's Dan Mullen's first year.
I was going to say,
UNLV.
Dan Mullen's at UNLV now. Don't forget about that.
If he was bringing back, 12, 13, 14 guys, I would say, wow, I'm pretty high. I'm feeling pretty good about this UNLV team in first year under Dan Mullen, but I'm not sold on UNLV at this point. I just wonder if a team like James Madison, if they can figure it out offensively, they bring back more than half of that defense from last year that was pretty good. So they're another team, maybe a sleeper. I don't have a high confidence in JMU being the team to do it, but JMU plays on the road at Louisville in week 2, bye week, and then they go on the road at Liberty, which you and I have talked about. That's a team that always plays a garbage tier schedule, but
Sure.
You can basically knock Liberty out of that conversation by beating them in week 4.
You can. So again, Tolo's my top 12 or the 12-team college football playoff that I predict. Big Ten champion Ohio State, SEC champion Texas, ACC champion Clemson, Big 12 champ Arizona State, and then you have Notre Dame, Penn State, Oregon, Bama, LSU, Miami, Boise State, and Georgia. Buckeye Mike gets in on the Hub City Spartanburgers text line and goes Ohio State, Texas, Clemson, Penn State, Georgia, Notre Dame, Oregon, Illinois, Utah, Georgia Tech, Boise State, and South Carolina is one of the teams in. So South Carolina, Illinois, Utah, and Georgia Tech. That is quite a ballsy prediction there, Buckeye Mike. but appreciate the text as always. It's going to be fun. I do think the G5 element throws interesting, not wrinkle, but what would happen? What would the narrative be, Diesel, if Navy did get in? And then you have, if my predictions come true, you have 4 SEC teams in, 2 ACC teams. You got 2 in last year, being Clemson and SMU from the ACC championship. I could see, kind of like you said, Miami being in that conference championship game because Clemson and Miami do not meet in the regular season. So it'll be interesting. I just think ultimately the cream of the crop always rises to the top, whether it's 4, 12, 16, or 80. You're going to see the best teams when it's all said and done.
Cole, when we come back, a fan called 911 because their favorite Major League Baseball team couldn't give them this. I'll play the audio, we'll react to it, and have ourselves a good old-fashioned audio blitz next.
now at 844-FAN-PHONE.
This is Wire to Wire with Diesel and Cole Bryson on the Fan Upstate.
Well, we had more proof of life that Rick and Greer is still with us. He called back in again to be a part of the show, and then just like that, he's gone. No more Rick.
What are we doing, Rick? I mean,
I
if you're going to keep flaking, don't call. You're banned. I'm kidding, but come on. I mean, either Rick, what do you? Did they only give you 3 minutes in jail? He's got to run back to the phone, put his quarters in, and then call back. I don't know. Yeah. Rick, it's frustrating, Rick and Greer. We've missed you, man. It's been too long.
It's absurd, Cole. So let's do this. Maybe Rick will call back in. We'll have to put him on the air right then to get Rick to come on. But let's hit some of the audio that we've had from around the sports world today, Cole. This is wild stuff. I don't know if you're aware of a promotion going on with the Milwaukee Brewers, not just this season, but a promotion that's been happening literally since the 1940s, a standing offer from George Webb Restaurant. First of all, shout out to any restaurant that can stay open for 85 years. That's fantastic.
Yeah, it is.
That they've been able to do that. But George Webb Restaurant has had a standing offer since the 40s that if the Brewers put together a 12-game winning streak, everyone gets a free hamburger. So this has been on their website for a long time. It's happened twice already in the team's history. 1987, they won 13 games in a row, leading to the restaurant shelling out 168,000 free hamburgers. It happened again in 2018. They rattled off 12 wins. This time, Cole, they're expecting they might have to give away more than 100,000 burgers. But the owner of the restaurant says, hey, guys, calm down, slow your roll. We got to figure this out because this is going to be very, very expensive for us. But here's the owner of the restaurant first telling fans to just be patient.
We want to give everyone an opportunity to get that free burger. I mean, this is the third 10-plus game winning streak this team has had this season. And it is the team's amazing. The city's a buzz. We never thought that it would happen, like this. And, we're excited. I mean, it's all everybody's talking about. And we want to capture this and make sure fans of the team and people in the city get that free burger.
So that's the vice president of the restaurant. Here's a fan who's upset that the day that they won their 12th game in a row, he couldn't go straight to the restaurant and get his burger. This is a guy calling 911 in Milwaukee, Cole, upset that his burger wasn't waiting for him.
King 227 at George Webb 19555 West Blue Mountain Road. We called 911 because they won't give him his free burgers for the Brewers game today. He was advised the game wasn't over yet. Not sure if the subject is still standing by. King 220.
So that's just a snippet of the call. Sorry, that's the dispatcher kind of coming over the radio and saying, hey, guys, this is just a wackadoo who's mad because he can't get his free burger.
Diesel, this is why other countries make fun of us. This is why people say that we're fat, obese Americans that have no life and are, come on. Are you just, here's my money, take my money and give me a burger. I would rather pay for it than have to go through all that. We're embarrassing. Only in Milwaukee, I guess, right?
Cole, as well as I do that that I've had my problems with Dolphins head coach Mike McDaniel and his inability to string together a coherent sentence. Here is Mike McDonald on the struggles that they had yesterday in their joint practice. Here's Mike.
Yeah, so it's interesting. So Tua said that right after practice, right? We're very process driven, but as competitors, guys, it's impossible not to really get annoyed and pissed off when the results aren't what you'd expect. Quite honestly, I didn't like a majority of the results on plays.
What is he saying, Cole?
That's what I'm trying to figure out. All I heard was, huh? I don't know what it is. Maybe I'll warm up to him eventually. I don't really like this guy. I don't know. He's really smart, maybe too smart for the game. every time you play audio and I hear him speak as a coach, I just kind of want to take my headset off, right?
Yeah. Socially awkward.
It is
I guess,
weird.
Is the way to put it. Cole, not socially awkward. Mike Vrabel. He's a guy that's been around the game for a long time, knows a thing or two. But I wonder, and I want to get your reaction. Was his response to a reporter asking a question over the top? Was it out of bounds when he questions the guy's education? Listen to this.
Yesterday about I was not sure about his readiness for week 1.
Did you really believe that, Phil? I mean, you're a smart guy. I don't know where you went to school. It wasn't Ohio State, but like, do you really believe that? Do you really believe that, Phil? Or are you just trying to bait me into something?
I'm not baiting you.
Okay.
Anything. He did say he wasn't sure he'd be ready for week 1. Is there any doubt in your mind?
I don't know the context in which he said it, but
You're a smart guy, Phil. You didn't go to Ohio State. You should know better than that, Phil.
What is it with the reporters that are named Phil and stupid questions? Is that just, I mean, I thought that was just a local thing, but evidently it's more than local. I love Mike Vrabel, though. I mean, you talk about a guy that probably should have got the job last year, right, but didn't. I have no problem with it. Love the audio from Vrabel there.
There we go. Here's some audio, Cole, from Trevor Lawrence about whether or not he wants to play in Sunday's preseason game number 2 for the Jaguars.
Is expecting to play, and it's always kind of a very variable or whatever, very number of snaps. You don't really know exactly what it's going to be, but expecting to play. I'm not sure if the result of today's practice would or wouldn't have changed it. I don't know as far as what coach is thinking, but I'm prepared to play, and from what was communicated to us, we're prepared to go and play a little bit. So
maybe playing some preseason ball, Trevor Lawrence. How about that?
You know, it's really interesting to have that conversation with Trevor, because hearing that audio that you just played, he's been in the league enough years now that when we talk about preseason football, Diesel, Trevor Lawrence shouldn't be in the boat of needing preseason games, right? However, I will say this. Jacksonville needs to figure out how to get the most out of the guys they have. I don't expect them to have the most talented roster year in and year out. But you put it on coaching, you put it on team chemistry, whatever it is, they haven't been able to maximize the talent they have. I think they have been in the last few years a little more talented than the results speak for. And Trevor, like going back to the first thing I said to this point, Diesel, he's to the point where he doesn't need preseason games, but maybe preseason snaps aren't a bad thing for Trevor Lawrence, because this team, like, there's a lot of pressure on this team. And you got this guy at quarterback who was expected to be, the next Peyton Manning, and all of a sudden it hadn't been anywhere close to that. So I wouldn't hate it to see him out there a little bit.
Cole, here's a little all-star bit of audio. And just as I say that, Rick and Greer drops the call again. Rick, that's it, man. We're not going to try to put you on the air anymore. That's 3 times you've called today.
You're done.
When I spoke to him on hold, I said, Rick, you going to stay on hold long enough to come on this time? Well, I'll try if I have time. If you don't have time to talk on the air, you don't have time to wait.
Yeah,
to
don't call if you don't have time.
Don't call.
Yeah.
So sorry, Rick. Maybe tomorrow.
Maybe tomorrow.
Next week.
Tomorrow is Saturday.
Yeah, maybe tomorrow, Rick.
Call back tomorrow.
Trevor Lawrence, not the only quarterback that wants to play, Cole. Here's Justin Herbert of the Chargers, who said he really wants to get out on the field for a preseason game.
There's nothing for me going to him and saying, hey, would it be okay if I went in and played? Because I think in years past the plan was to rest and see those reps. But I wanted to go out there and see a pass rush, because in practice as a quarterback you don't always get the true feeling of a pass rush. So I thought it'd be helpful to go out there, and he was understanding, and we kind of worked together on talking to plan.
So Herbert wants to play.
So where are we at now with this? Is it truly team by team? Because I think it is, by the way. You can't have one quarterback who's a veteran in the NFL not playing, and then the other quarterback who is also a veteran in the NFL, in that audio you just heard, wanting to play. So where are we? Is it truly a team-by-team, case-by-case scenario that maybe there are some quarterbacks out there that, even though they're veteran quarterbacks, Diesel, need the reps, but then you have the Aaron Rodgers and other quarterbacks of the world who are vets that don't need to see a single snap during the preseason? I think it's truly just an opinion. Like, some coaches might have an opinion on it. Maybe maybe Trevor Lawrence's coach doesn't want him out there, but it's just weird to see that there's no consistency with veterans in the NFL rather, in their snaps that they take during the preseason.
How many seasons has Justin Herbert played to this point?
I want to say this is his 4th. Off the top of my head, I could be wrong on that a little bit.
He will be in his 5th.
Okay, so
year.
5th.
Sorry, 6th season this year.
Wow.
In the NFL. And here's his coach Jim Harbaugh saying that the team's ready. We're all feeling good. Here's Jim.
Yeah, we're gonna play starters on Saturday. Oh yeah. All the offensive starters are gonna play, and defensively same. I'm gonna hold K Mac and Derwin back. Could be a series, could be 2.
Thanks, Jim. They could all play a series.
That was riveting, wasn't it? Hey, let me ask you this. Fun question on the Jim Harbaugh with the Chargers in Jacksonville. I said a minute ago there's a lot of pressure on Jacksonville with Trevor Lawrence. You just said that Justin Herbert's going into his 6th season. Is that right?
That's right.
Who has more pressure, Justin Herbert in L.A. or Trevor Lawrence in Jacksonville?
Oh, I think it's by far Trevor Lawrence in Jacksonville.
You think so?
Justin Herbert's actually, looked good and consistently played well. And you can say, well, he's good. It's the team around him that's not. With Trevor, I know that, like you said, they're not getting the absolute tippy-top best talent in Jacksonville, but like, come on, man. Like you've been in this league for a long time. You have to have some level of consistency on offense. And if you are this guy that was blown up into being the next great thing, you then have to elevate your team.
Well, and again, we could spend like 2 hours on that topic, but it brings up a great point. You ask who has more pressure, Herbert or Lawrence. Well, guess what? Herbert has talent around them, way more talent than Trevor Lawrence has had, kind of like you just said, Diesel. But at the end of the day, yeah, you have to elevate your team, but you've got to have horses that you can hand the ball off to and throw it to. So I think it's a tough spot. I personally don't think Jacksonville's done a good job surrounding Trevor Lawrence with talent. Justin Herbert's had talent. He still has. Chargers are a really good team. I didn't realize it was his 6th season already. I was thinking more like 4 or 5. But they've had talent in L.A. Good running backs, really good defenders. But at the end of the day, you've got a quarterback. I don't care if you're Tom Brady or the third-string quarterback on the Cleveland or Pittsburgh Steelers, rather. You've got to have the guys around you that can make plays. And I just don't think Jacksonville's drafted well overall.
Cole, our last piece of audio here on this audio blitz. Don't look now. The Atlanta Braves have won 2 in a row. Also, some good news for the Braves. They have reinstated Ronald Acuna after a little calf injury there following his IL stint. Here's audio from last night's game of Ozzie Albies hitting the game-winning double in the top of the 8th, an RBI double that made the score 4-3 and ultimately won the game for the Bravos.
Ozzie to right field and pretty deep. It's off the wall. Michael Harris rounds third. And Ozzie has driven in 3 of the 4. And Atlanta is back on top.
How about that? The Braves win again, 2 in a row. One more, that's a winning streak. It has happened before.
I said earlier in the Daily Wires that the Braves are just a team that you can't figure out. I don't know what to make of them. They are absolutely terrible, but then like they beat the Mets, a good team, 2 games in a row, and they look really good, and they're down, 8 runs the other night at the rain delay, and then an hour and a half later they put up 12 runs. And it's like, well, how are you good? How are you this good at times, but the rest of the season you've just been horrific? That is why I keep saying there's way too much talent in Atlanta just to blow it up. I know everybody wants to blow it up and revamp the farm system and start back over again, but I just ultimately think there's way too much talent there. So it's frustrating to see that. It's truly, I know it sounds crazy, but it's frustrating to win, Diesel, right now, because you win and you're thinking, wow, how in the world is this team capable of this, but they can't consistently do it? I don't get it, but we shall see on the Atlanta Braves in 2026. Diesel, have you ever heard of the Mumbler, this guy on TikTok who is known for interviewing people and mumbling when you think so? Like, let's take, for example, you're at a high school game. You stick a mic in a coach's face, right? You start to interview him. You're speaking normal, and then all of a sudden the interview just goes off the rails because my normal words become this guy just mumbling. Have you seen this yet?
I have not, but it sounds like
So-
a viral way to screw with people.
Well,
I love it.
He started out on his own social media pages, right? He started out just doing TikToks, YouTube videos, Facebook, so on and so forth. And now he's made it to the NFL Network, handing a microphone, handing the guy a mic, and going to NFL players who don't know who he is and asking questions, and then that audio turning into mumbling. I'll have the audio for you next. This is fantastic stuff right here on the Fan Upstate.
This is Wire to Wire with Cole, Bryson, and Diesel on the Fan Upstate.
Putting a bow on hour number 3 of the show. So glad to be with you. Diesel back in the Ingles Market Studios. I'm Cole Bryson, live at Gaffney High School for the McDonald's Kickoff Classic. North Gaston and Blacksburg underway. First game was delayed a little bit because of the heat. So the first game is finally underway. But Diesel, if you hadn't seen this guy or heard of him on TikTok, Twitter, Facebook, you name it, Instagram, he's blown up for mumbling. You know, a lot of people have speech impediments and mumble not on purpose. This guy does it on purpose and is absolutely blowing the internet away. AT&T and the Atlanta Falcons now hired the guy to go mumble to Falcons and Tennessee Titans at training camp. It's audio gold. Here it is. So you have two responses. You have the guy that tries to act like he knows what he said and he answers it. And then you have the other guys, Diesel, who are like, what on earth are you saying? Did we ever think a bit would become as popular because of mumbling? This guy has taken the internet by storm, and he's really, really good at mumbling. Like, I didn't know you could be so good at mumbling, and you just heard him doing it with Falcons players and Tennessee Titans players. And they truly, I wish you could see the video, they truly have no idea what's going on. They don't know that he's social media famous or anything, and they're out there, Diesel, confused as all get out. Who let this guy?
Amazing bit.
Who let this guy stick a mic in our face?
Oh, that's a great bit. I mean, look, this guy probably has hundreds of thousands of social media followers, and this is a great way for the team and the league, wherever he is, to get that extra little bit of notoriety. Again, it's it's all about exposing the sport to hundreds of thousands of new people who love this guy, and he can help deliver them, you know, some more fans.
No doubt. It's really funny, man. I love the comedic part of the media. Like, we don't get enough of that. You know, there's so much seriousness, but having guys like that, they do make it fun. It's been a lot of fun today, Diesel, by the way, out here at McDonald's Kickoff Classic. I know they were pushed back a little bit because of some heat and other issues, but they are finally underway. High school football is just a week away now. Week 0 kicking off this time next Friday night. I want to say thanks to the folks at Gaffney and Malcolm Long and the AD for allowing me to be here. A lot more in hour number 4, Diesel, and a conversation, I believe, as well with Brock Kamrick, right?
Yeah, so when we come back, we are going to jump back into the conversation we had earlier about Michigan getting absolutely slapped by the NCAA. We heard about this coming down the pipe yesterday, as far as the results, the final results of the Connor Stallion sign stealing scandal. You and I are both surprised by just how hard the NCAA chose to slap a team and a program like Michigan. We'll get into that conversation, and coming up later on in the 6 o'clock hour, jump back into the high school football conversation with Brock Hamrick. So that's coming up when we come back on the other side of the break. Tolos, turn it on, leave it on the Fan Upstate.